Hi everyone, welcome to another video with one of my amazing speakers for RHS Live, which we're running in November. I have got Sabine Matharu with us. Sabine, welcome. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Carol. Thank you so much. I am very excited to be at RHS with you this year. I have been there as a participant before, and it was absolutely amazing. So I really look forward to the session. So I am a business strategist, and I work with female entrepreneurs to help them set up their business in a way that is evergreen. And I know we're going to talk about this today because people will ask, what is this evergreen thing? I'm very mission driven around helping other female entrepreneurs help them with the heavy lifting in their business. Now, I've got a lot of experience. I've been in my own business like 13 years or more, roughly, because my daughter's now 13. I remember I
Hi.
stopped in my sort of high flying corporate career where I was a senior director, and I just set up myself, and I've done many different things, from podcastings to running summits to being a leadership consultant, and then swerving over into entrepreneurship and helping female entrepreneurs, also writing books. And maybe I just
Yes,
mentioned it. Today is actually
yes,
the
of
third
course.
anniversary of this book, which is called Shift, A New Era
Let's have a
Begins.
look. Just lift it up a little bit so
Don't
we
know if you
can
can
see
see it
it.
properly.
Oh, we can't see the title. I can't on mine
Ah,
anyway.
there we go.
Yeah, there it is. Shift. A new
Shift.
era begins.
Yes.
Brilliant.
This is the third, basically. So the first one I wrote, it's all together with other female entrepreneurs, because
Mhm.
my mission is all about helping them be visible, sharing voices, and bringing lots of different voices to the table. So the first one was called Rise in Pursuit of Empowerment. The second one, Joy Recipes for Abundance, and that was a bit of fun one where we talk about sort of weird sort of recipes, like a sprinkle of kisses and a couple of hugs, like non-materialistic sort of things.
That
And then
sounds
this,
good.
yeah, and then this one was this inspired from the pandemic. This I wrote
Mm,
this in the pandemic, and I wanted to
did
collect
you?
stories of all of us going through this, because as you can see, we've got bubbles on the front cover, and we were all in bubbles at that time. So
Yeah,
I
of
really
course. Very good.
I'm really all about inspiring others, and also helping other entrepreneurs to actually share their voices.
Mm. I'm thinking of writing a book. I've actually started to scope it out.
Mm.
When I was in the corporate world, I used to write books as my hobby, children's books.
Oh.
And I never got them published, and self publishing wasn't around at the time, not like it is today. Um, But yes, I've decided I've got to write a book. So this year, and somebody's just signed up for RHS, who, funny enough, is like a book author. They help people to not, yes, maybe to write books, but also to get them published and get it out there. So I'm looking forward to having that conversation with her.
And Carol, this is not a coincidence, because that happened to me at that time, 2018.
Mm,
I was running virtual networking events way
right.
before anyone was doing virtual stuff, because it was before the pandemic. So that somebody came into my networking event
Oh,
that was
wow.
actually doing these sorts of collab books, and I always knew it's going to be collab. And then we had
Mm.
a conversation, and the rest is history.
Yeah, good,
Mm.
good. So, Sabine, I'm really excited to talk to you about this topic today because there's been a real shift in definitely the online coaching world around Evergreen Systems. So, before we get into that, could you just explain to everyone what an Evergreen sort of like system or approach is and why it's beneficial?
Yeah. And I think we can just address this shift as well, and why I kind of niche down into this area, because there's a lot of different coaches out there, especially business coaches, that just talk about the same old thing. So my background is actually business process and project management. And I was always tasked to go and find wastage in a process, and
Mm,
looking at things from a a perspective of how can we make this future proof. And this is what I now brought into my business, because I really had to think about, well, how am I different to other coaches and consultants out there? What makes me special? What makes me different? I think everyone should be thinking the same way, and really stepping back rather than trying to just be everything to everyone all the time. And at that time, I was very tired of being on this treadmill, of being visible, of doing launching and all that. And I thought to myself, there has to be a better way. And with my background, I then devised a system that I now call the Evergreen Success Formula. And it's based on this notion of evergreen. So as you might imagine, and I'm very much of a nature person. You can see I'm wearing green today because of evergreen. I'm from Austria. I love nature, and when we can all learn from nature, because nature
Yeah.
is persistent, nature is patient,
Yeah.
nature is consistent, and
Mm.
some of the leaves are evergreen. So that
Yeah.
means they're always blossoming. So should we not take some of our those learnings into our business, where we can actually think, well, how often do we stop start? And we lose momentum, we get tired, and we reinvent the wheel perhaps, and do a new webinar, another product, another program, and another campaign, and we get tired. What we
Mm.
should be doing is focusing on our paid work, because that's what we do best. And quite often we're lumbered with all the marketing and the admin and everything else. So could we not put all of that stuff that we don't really want to do on evergreen? And that means putting something in place that works all the time, that perhaps we could even outsource to a VA if need be. And the stuff that we like doing, that we are really good at, let's do this more often, but also utilize what we've already created over and over again, and just maybe make it better and improve on the things, rather than just throwing everything out the window and then restarting again and again when we do our marketing or our launching. That's
Yeah.
the vision.
Yes. So what I've seen is like a shift in the industry where people are, they were doing these big launches. And as you said, those launches take a lot of time. It can make you feel quite exhausted afterwards. And often people need a period of time. Like for some people, it might be a few days. For others, it might be a couple of weeks to actually get over it. And then, of course, there's the build up to the launch and everything. And if your launch doesn't deliver what you had hoped for, then, sort of like, where are you? You're a bit stuck. Where do you go from there? So, what would you say are some of the key characteristics in that evergreen system that makes it resilient and adaptable, as opposed to like launching your offer at specific times?
I agree with what you just said, and I was exactly in that bucket. I still love to do live launching because I love to turn up and teach. I'm a teacher at heart, that's for sure. And um and I think there's two ways. So one is the marketing. It's like, how can we create a marketing and the launch system that feels a bit easier and is fun,
Mm.
and
Yeah,
it's not putting that pressure. There's a bit of mindset work here as well, right? If you think about it in terms of attaching ourselves to certain outcomes. And then we also have the program, as to how do we actually structure our programs and our containers, so that they can also be evergreen, so that we are not under pressure and say, well, actually, we have to start this program with at least 10 people. Otherwise, I'm going to be doomed. I'm going to be wasting a lot of time. How about creating something that where enrollment is always open? And I know people might be thinking, no, that's not possible, because we start with module one and we go to module two and we do this all together. But I do challenge everyone, because you can create those evergreen enrollment programs, that's for sure. It has just to be a bit of a tweak. And there's actually a lot of advantages of doing it that way as well. So, regards to the marketing, the characteristics, yeah, definitely some of the things that we know we're doing over and over again, we can automate that. For example, content. How many times are we creating content? Like we should be creating content every day, you might say. You might be sitting here thinking, what am I going to write today? So we could actually already strategize the content pieces based on what are the things I'm going to be teaching over here in the program, like what are your modules, and then you create content around that. And of course, we can use automation and AI tools nowadays, which we should
Yeah,
be using.
I love AI.
Yeah, I love it too. And that's fine, right? So that's a characteristic. It's utilizing tools that can help us, but it's also utilizing an evergreen mindset, which is
Yes.
right, what am I teaching in my programs? What may be the questions my clients might have, or problems that are coming up and things that I can help them with. That's the strategic content, because you could just take one puzzle piece. So one of the modules that I teach is business model. So I could just have a themed, like 1 week of a whole theme, like 1 week about talking about different business models. They could be memberships, it could be a high ticket mastermind, it could be the digital program funnel. So I could actually just dissect it. And even those are quite a big pieces of chunks of content here. I could just talk about, um, I don't know, masterminds for a whole week and create content around it. But we don't just put content in and then leave it. No, we've got to save the content somewhere and have a system that
Yes.
we can utilize it. So that's also evergreen. Now we are doing a bit of continuous improvement, heavy lifting, systemizing. In the corporate world, we would say standard operating procedures, which I know they can sound really scary. But say you have a list of things that you do every week, right? You could operationalize on Monday, I'm posting this. On Tuesday, I'm doing this. On Wednesday, I'm doing that. How many businesses have that in place? Because what you want to have is like peace of mind and knowing every day what you're doing, and that what you're doing is actually going to drive results, and you're not just randomly scrolling on social media and you don't know what you're doing on social media, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's really funny that we're having this conversation. And that's why I was so delighted to have you as a speaker, because for years I've been running a sales program. And I would do that. And I actually don't like launching. My launching is I'm going to run a webinar. And I love running webinars. And like you, Sabine, I love doing that teaching element. But I don't really like launching. I find it's really energy zapping. So I have got my latest incarnation of my sales um, training, and I've deliberately created that into an evergreen. And I've just actually launched it this morning. And what I
Ooh.
had to do was to sit back and say, right, how can I do this so that anyone can come in more or less at any time? And what I got down to was I divided it into three chunks, because what I've learned, sorry, there's someone coming through on my phone. What I've learned through running my program, running it for a year, running it for 6 months, running it for 3 months, running it for 6 weeks, is that although people these days want to get in, get the information quickly and get out, it's the implementation and helping them to stay accountable and helping them to navigate through. Because as much as they might sit down and listen to it, it doesn't mean that they've learned it and know it inside out. And often they'll miss out pieces. So, what I've done is I've grouped my sales into three areas. One is about like what I would call the traditional selling. So, the sales conversation, selling in the DMs, in a nice, authentic way, not those ones where people just connect with us and then try and sell us stuff. Lead generation and content that sells. So it's all related to sales, but I've grouped it into three clear modules. And I'm just going to run those modules all the time. And what I've decided to do is open it every month. So I will sell it for 2 weeks in a month, then I'll close it. And when you sign up, you join the next module. So you're always starting a module. And it doesn't matter which module you do first. I mean, naturally, you would think, okay, let me do lead generation first. Let me understand how to write content that sells. And then let me understand how to actually sell and have those conversations. But if you've got a client that you've already booked in and you're going to have a sales conversation, you want to do that straight away. So that's how I've done it. I've said, right, I'm going to have a go at doing this evergreen model. And the way I'll get people on is through the marketing that I really enjoy doing, which is not the launching, but doing the webinars, doing my social media. So keep your fingers crossed.
Yeah, and now it's about consistency, and it's about perhaps doing 3 different webinars that would then promote that particular module each month. And there are many ways that you can actually structure an evergreen program. And you're right, absolutely. It's not about the information solely. People can obviously Google a lot of information, and well,
Yeah.
that doesn't mean because we know something that we would actually be implementing it. And then once we implement, we may get stuck. We may have a sales call, and then it's like, oh my gosh, what did I do wrong? I didn't win that client. So they have a space where they can come to you, maybe go through that conversation and optimize. And they
Mm.
might have to go through module 3 several times to really get it.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I've done. I've given them access to it for a year. So they can go through it live 4 times because you're right. Sometimes people need to hear something a few more times or bring to the table their own example for that knowledge to really sort of like hit home for them. What would you say, Sabine, are some of the common sort of like mistakes or pitfalls that solopreneurs can make when trying to build an evergreen system or an offer?
Yeah, so I would say number one, just go for it. Don't overthink it, and don't think it has to be perfect from day one. From day one, it probably won't. It has to be lived, it has to be tested, and it has to be planned out as well. I think one of the things is that we could actually overcomplicate. I used to do this. I used to build so many different automated funnels because I just love all this stuff. And ideally, I think we would all like to sip a cocktail on the beach and the money's just coming in.
Yeah,
The courses are just running on autoplay. We don't even need to do anything
yeah,
anymore, right? That's the ideal. Unfortunately, it doesn't always work like that. We've got to work towards it and perhaps create some hybrids. And I would say less is more, because once we start overcomplicating, overthinking, putting too many steps, and then using all sorts of different tools, we're going to actually lose sight over it.
oh, good.
And
Glad
that's
to
what
hear that. I'm keeping
I,
mine hopefully simple.
I actually deleted my entire Kartra account early last year. I
Yeah.
had 80-ish sales pages and funnels on there.
Oh,
And I
wow.
thought, yeah. And also, I mean, I was moving with my new energy and what I wanted to do, and some of the things I now bundled up into my other programs, which is sort of under one banner. Because if you think about it, if I have like 10 different courses that I'm supposed to fill, that's a lot of pressure. I have to launch 10 different things, and then I've got to deliver 10 different things as well. So I'm not doing myself and my clients a favor if you think about it. So one of the pitfalls is overcomplicating. And what I would say is just simplify, like really make it simple for you and for your client. And so you don't overwhelm yourself, and don't
Yeah.
confuse your clients either with regards
Yeah.
to too many things you're offering.
How long do you think it takes to really gather that momentum when where you've created your system like I have. I'm just launching it today, getting it out there, talking about it. How long do you think it takes to gain that momentum where people start to come in to buy it on this like automatic?
I mean, obviously, it's kind of like a how long is a piece of string
Mm,
question because it
yeah.
depends on how much time, energy you put in, how much in intelligence in terms of focus, optimization. If you do most steps correctly, right, I would say it will take you about 3 months for initial engagement because, and I guess, let's say you are also working with an audience that may be cold or you are working from scratch. Obviously, if you already have a huge following, then it may be quicker. But say for most people, they have this like notion of, oh, I've really got to become consistent now. And that's when they start to really build the audience and show up more consistently with a good message because they thought this through
Yeah.
with the evergreen and they've worked on their offer. I guess the first month is just really getting your bearings when you are creating the offer, when you are creating the message and your content, and perhaps your first webinar. The second month then is like, yeah, putting yourself there on an ongoing basis, and people will start to realize, oh, she's doing another webinar. Oh, maybe I missed the last one. I'll come now and have a look. It does take the time, and then yeah, then you'll optimize. 3 to 6 months. You look at, okay, what else can I add? But it's a lifestyle. It's almost like it's not just the fad diet. It is
Oh,
a new lifestyle.
yeah. So I've got a membership. It's a very small membership, but I've been running it for 3 years and I have consistently turned up, even though the membership is very small. It's really just a handful of people in there. And I just thought, okay, I have proved to myself that I've got the staying power, that I can consistently turn up every week for these people, and deliver the training and help them with their Q&As and things like that. And I just thought I've proved to myself that I can do that because you're right. It's that staying power, if that's sort of like the right word to describe it, that you need to, because when something is new, it can be very exciting, but you've got to get through the sort of like the months of it where it might start to not feel as exciting anymore. And it might, for some people, even feel a bit like a chore. But it is, as you said, a shift in mindset.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is the lifestyle change.
Mm. Mm. How would you measure the success? What are some of the indicators that help people to measure whether their evergreen offer is working for them?
I would say so. Obviously, you've got a number of complicated metrics that you could
Yeah.
measure at every stage. But let's start with you. How do you feel in your business? Do you feel more excited again because you're now doing the things you really enjoy and you're not lumbered with the stuff that you used to do and found overwhelming? Does it give you time back and more freedom with regards to the creation? And how's the feedback from the clients? Because one of the things is like, obviously, the program, we want to evergreen that and improve that in terms of how do we onboard our clients? Do we have a system around that so that we can delight them and give them all the tools that they need? And so we have more time and more space to actually spend with the clients.
Mm.
That's the one area that's maybe not just financial, but it will come back to you because you've got more freedom, you've got more lifestyle choices or time with your family. That's most of the time people start a business because they don't want to be in a 9 to 5 and in the grind. They want to have more freedom. They want to have their extra holiday. And yes, it comes from having more money in the bank as well. But then also we want to, some people are actually, you know, financially very rich, but very time poor. So it's, where do you want to be?
Mm.
And then
Mm.
obviously we've got the financial aspect. It's, yeah, how many people do you want to enroll? What's your goal? Are you hitting those goals? And obviously within that, we need to know what are the numbers in terms of if I want to sell 10 programs at this price point by the very end, then each of the steps would have a certain amount of leads that are going through, a
Mm,
certain amount of conversion. And then we have to start measuring those. And
yeah.
probably we and very unfortunately, one of the pitfalls here is that sometimes people say, I don't know how to do sales calls. I said, don't worry about the sales calls until you actually know that your content converts and that when your people coming through the webinar, that you're doing a good job there. And then you can look at what
Mm,
you're saying on the sales calls.
mm, mm. Yeah. Yes, so it does take time. That's the thing. You've got to have that patience. And I suppose it's always about reviewing and tweaking and seeing what you do. But you are sort of like creating this, hopefully, an ecosystem. And then as it grows, you can bring in other people to help you do elements of that that make it easier for you. I'm really looking forward to the day I can just get somebody in to do my social media. I'm a big believer that you should always write your own social media because it's your voice. But I want somebody to take it off my hands and say, okay, I'll take this, what you've said, and I'll just convert it for the Twitter platform or X platform or for threads, which I very rarely put stuff up on. Whereas I do quite a bit myself for Facebook or LinkedIn and Instagram, but it's hard to keep doing all of them when you're running a business.
And I guess the question is, where do you want to show up? And do
Yeah,
you really want to be everywhere? And rather mastering one or two or three platforms? I think that's the next question here. But I just wanted to share with you that it's not that as hard as you might think it is. I'm very protective of my own stuff, and I love high quality. Um, Natural being Austrian, I have this German sort of background with the quality, and I had to actually really um, let go a little bit of that control. And I now work with a VA,
right.
and I worked it out so that I would create the content. So once a week
Yes.
on a Thursday, because I've got like certain rhythms now in my business where on a Wednesday I would just come show up, do Facebook or LinkedIn Live or a webinar on Zoom. So I would have a content piece that I wanted to deliver. And based off all of that, I have my pre-posts and my post promo posts and even a LinkedIn newsletter and a transcript and YouTube shorts that all come out of that one piece of me
Of content. Oh,
presentation.
great.
So you can really create an ecosystem week by week
Mm,
to move forward. And
yeah.
all of a sudden, if I mean, I wouldn't say you'd have to do something every week. Maybe you want to create something for 12 weeks. So you have 90 days of content and then start again in week one
Yeah.
after 90 days. And then you've
Yes.
got everything documented. I'm using Trello. So the
Are
Trello
you?
board, my Trello board looks like Monday with the post and the banner that we created in week one. Tuesday, Wednesday is this is my webinar template
Mm,
and a link to Canva, for example, if I got my slides. So all of a sudden, you don't even notice as you're creating it in the moment. After
yeah.
90 days, you can go back and you can just reutilize all of this stuff.
Yeah. 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 People have to repurpose, don't they? It's something they're not doing a lot of. And, not everyone sees it first time round. And even if they do, they forget. I always remember once I wrote a post and then I went networking and I was doing a talk and I mentioned the same thing. And someone said, yeah, I was reading something about that the other day. I said, yeah, it was my post. And they went,
Nah,
oh, yeah, that's right. So people will forget.
yeah, yeah, it is. It
So,
really is. After 90 days, they forgot what you said. And then you may have new audiences as well.
yeah, yes,
Yes.
exactly. New audiences that are coming in. So, Sabine, before we wrap up, and I do want you to tell us about your services, is there anything else that you think that people need to know about Evergreen?
I would
You're on the
say,
spot there.
yeah, there is. Okay, okay. Can you do it yourself? Yes, you can. Will it
Right.
take more time and energy and trial and error? Probably it would.
Mm.
What I've created is a fill in the blank, lots of templates, make it very easy in terms of implementation for my clients. And that's what I do best. I,
Right.
I always start with looking at their business because not everything is cookie cutter and it mustn't be cookie cutter. But there are things that everyone could implement, as I was
Mm.
just demonstrating, like a Trello board. And
Yeah.
yeah, and that's already say a little bit pre-populated with prompts.
Mm.
And if people don't know how to use ChatGPT, I have collateral of prompts that actually creates their voice
Oh,
so that they
good.
can then utilize that
Yeah.
over and over again in their business to create content or to get them at least started. So I
Mm.
think that's really my forte is to really holistically look at someone's business and create those processes with them. And I think that's probably my recommendation is don't try it on your own if you're not really an expert in
Mm.
that area, because it can be really hard to do.
Yeah. So if somebody was listening to this and they said, yeah, I want to try Evergreen, what's the best way for them to contact you?
So I could pop a link to
Yeah,
my
we'll put a
call.
link.
I can do a
Yeah.
free. I would always start with a free audit. If someone wanted to have a tell me where could I evergreen my business and what would be suitable. We can have
Yeah.
that conversation. I'm also on social media under Sabine Matharu, definitely on Facebook. You'll find me on LinkedIn and also on Instagram.
Yeah, we'll put those links below so that people can connect. Now, just before we go, just let everybody know what are you working on in your business? What are you selling at the moment?
Uh, I am very, very focused on my evergreen success formula,
Right.
which is literally helping other female entrepreneurs go evergreen and getting all their systems for that in place. So that would include a content system. Before content, we would actually look at the messaging and the offers
Yeah.
and making sure that, how could you do evergreen enrollments? How does your onboarding system look? Do you
Yeah.
have a welcome pack? Do you have a contract? If not, I've got all the templates
That's
there.
brilliant.
If they need any sales funnels, I have all the templates ready. So pretty much A to Z,
That is fantastic. Just
evergreen.
listening to that, I'm thinking, yeah, I don't
It's
have that.
hilarious.
I don't have that.
And you know what? I haven't. This is something fairly new. Because when I last year realized I had too many things that I was offering, I needed to evergreen myself. And
Mm.
I'm so confident in my offer now because I had to go through this myself and remember who I was in my corporate and what I did then. I mean, back then I was evergreening or optimizing whole manufacturing sites. And like, for example, Mars Chocolate Factory, to name one, was
Wow.
one of my big projects. And I thought,
Wow.
well, if I can do it with these guys
Yeah.
and streamline 400
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
to, do less weight, they have less waste, get more
Yeah.
time, get more production out. Why
Mm.
would I not do it for the small businesses?
Yeah. I think that I mean, I absolutely love processes and structure. And in my last corporate life, which was quite a few years ago now, I looked after Europe and I had to travel to all our European offices a lot.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And of course, I went to Germany and I loved the Germans because they were so structured and process orientated and everything moved quickly because they just sort of like didn't mess around. They had everything there. And I think that a lot of small business owners, like solopreneurs, whether you're a coach, a consultant, a therapist, and a healer, they don't have processes and systems in place. And they tend to focus on the delivery of the client work. And often what happens is because they don't have any of those processes and systems in place, their social media is not working for them. They are not getting their visibility. They're not increasing their visibility. and they think it doesn't work, but actually they haven't invested the time to create something that makes it work for them.
And I totally agree because we're talking about rich hot spiritual. We're talking to spiritual entrepreneurs who
Yes.
are amazing at what they do,
Yeah.
creating these energetic transformations. And those are the the women, I would say, that do focus very much on the delivery. They get a lot of word of mouth referrals. And then there could be this feast and famine as well because they are delivering and then there's nothing
Yeah.
coming in on the back end once they finish with a client.
Yeah.
Then quite often they sell maybe 10 sessions. So that there's another constraint that they could lift in their business in terms of how can we create recurring revenue, maybe a membership model. Because
Yes.
let's face it, fixing a trauma doesn't just take 10 sessions. It's an
No.
ongoing journey. It's a
Yeah.
lifestyle as well. So
Yeah.
they have to also start thinking bigger and more bolder. And then, yes, it might that most, and I have loads of clients like that who are holistic healers and therapists, and they say, well, yeah, but this is uh, the process will actually just kind of confine me. And I'm not that kind of, I'm more like an energetic person. I want to work more in the flow. And I'm saying, well, do you know what? You're going to get even into more flow if that mundane stuff is all sorted and it works
Yes.
for you. And
Yeah.
you can forget about it, actually.
Yeah.
You've got it sorted. You'll be
Mm.
more free, right?
Mm. So, Sabine, thank you so much for your time this morning. If you want to come along and see Sabine in action, she's one of our speakers at Rich Hot and Spiritual Live, which is taking place on Friday, the 22nd of November. We will put the links down below so that you can go to the sales page, have a look at the agenda, and see who else is speaking, and hopefully come and join us. Thank you so much, Sabine.
One more nugget. We're going to make
Yeah.
this video evergreen as well. I know you're going to run this event next year as well, and
Yeah.
you will have the same link again. If anyone misses this
Yes.
year's,
Yes.
they can
Absolutely.
register for next year on the same
Yeah.
link.
Exactly. Exactly. Get those sign-ups in early. I mean, I love planning. If anybody knows me, they know how much I love to plan. Anyway, everyone, thank you so much for your time, and we'll see you soon in our next video.
Thank you.
Bye for now.